Right? So this is the Zondervan Bible Compact Dictionary. And we're going to get the word Easter. Right? Because this day is not biblical. But everybody worshiping on Good Friday, worshiping on Easter Sunday. Show me one scripture, right, with these days in the Bible. You've been deceived. Right? Let's read it.
Easter/Passover, rendered Easter in Acts 12 verse 4, but correctly translated Passover in ASV.
Right. So the correct translation in Acts 12 verse 4 should be Passover, but it's the Roman Catholic bishops who put the word Easter. But if you look at the verse closely, when they put Peter in prison, it was intended after the days of unleavened bread, which is part of the Passover. This is why you have to study, or you will be deceived. Right? Read.
The day on which the church celebrates the resurrection of Yashayah Christ.
Right. So the day on which this church, right, during the first century was celebrating the death and resurrection of Christ was the Passover. Because that's the day when he died. The time when he died, when you read Matthew 26, it was during the Passover. He's fulfilling the Passover, being the lamb sacrifice without blemish. Right? So this day is not biblical. You should be celebrating the Passover, not Easter. So now we're going to get the book called The Two Babylons. Right? This goes into all the holidays that people celebrate. Most of them. Such as Easter, Christmas, Lady Day, the Nativity of St. John, the Feast of Assumption, showing that all these days started in ancient Babylon. Right? Nothing biblical. But why we see people celebrating them today in church? Right? Because during the Council of Nicaea, it was under Constantine that all these pagan days came about, and the Catholic bishops. Right? They're the ones who give you Christmas, Easter, all these pagan days. So now we're going to get Two Babylons, page 91. So this is Two Babylons, page 91. We're going into the history of Easter. Where it started, the pagan day. Read.
If Rome be indeed the Babylon of the Apocalypse, and the Madonna enshrined in her sanctuaries be the very queen of heaven.
Jump on to this, the second paragraph. Read.
The festivals of Rome are innumerable, but 5 of the most important may be singled out for elucidation.
Right, so this historian is going to single out 5 high holidays for clarification. That's what elucidation means. Right? 5 of them he singled out to give clarification on, because he did his research, extensive research on these pagan days, right? And their primal origin. Read.
Christmas Day, Lady Day,
Christmas Day, Lady Day. Read.
Easter. Easter.
So he did his research on Easter and where it started. Read.
The Nativity of St. John and the Feast of Assumption.
Read.
Each of all of these can be proved to be Babylonian.
Said each and all of these can be proved to be Babylonian, meaning they all derive from ancient Babylon. Because if you don't read in the Bible, the first thing should come to your mind, where did it start? Where it come from? Or you just following people blindly? Right? Each and all of these can be proved to be Babylonian. Christmas, Easter, all of them are pagan in origin. So now we're going to go into the history.
festival of which we read in church history under the name of Easter in the 3rd or 4th centuries was quite a different festival from that now observed in the Roman Church.
Right. So in the 3rd and 4th century, right, there was a different festival being celebrated in the commemoration and the resurrection and death of Christ. Right? It was called Pasch, or the Passover. Right? It was quite a different festival. When this brother did his research. Right? Read.
And at that time was not known by any such name as Easter.
See that? So it wasn't known as Easter. It was known as Passover. But it was the Catholics who changed it to Easter. The Romans under Constantine back then.
It was called Pasch, or the Passover.
It was called Pasch, or the Passover. Right? Right. Somebody else word. Read.
And though not of apostolic institution, was very early observed by many professing Christians in commemoration of the death and resurrection of Christ.
Right, so the Passover of the early Christians in the 1st century, they were celebrating it in the death and resurrection of Christ. They were celebrating the Passover. All you have to do is do your research and you will see. Read.
That festival agreed originally with the time of the Jewish Passover.
That festival agreed originally with the time of the Jewish Passover. Read.
When Christ was crucified.
When Christ was crucified. That's what I talk about in the book of Matthew chapter 26. Right? When Christ was crucified. Right? Let's flip the page. So now let's read from here. So now we're going to go into the hot cross buns. Where it get started. Right? On Good Friday. Read.
The hot cross buns of Good Friday and the dyed eggs of Pasch or Easter Sunday figured in the Chaldean rites, just as they do now.
So this ancient custom, right, of hot cross buns on Good Friday started in ancient Chaldean. It started in ancient Babylon. Right? So these customs are not new. They just amalgamated the pagan principles in Christianity and have the whole church deceived. Just as Christ said, many shall come in my name and deceive many. Read.
The buns known to by that identical name were used in the worship of the Queen of Heaven.
Right. So those buns were used in the worship of the Queen of Heaven. So this is a historical record. Right? And we're going to show you that in the book of Jeremiah. That the same buns that they used back then in ancient Babylon to worship the Queen of Heaven, that's in the book of Jeremiah during the time of the Babylonian captivity. So let's hold that and let's get Jeremiah 7 verse 18. The book of Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 18. Jeremiah 7 verse 18. Where did these hot cross buns started? Read.
The children gathered wood.
Read.
And the fathers kindled the fire. And the women knead their dough.
And the women knead their dough, come on,
to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven.
To make cakes to the Queen of Heaven. Right? So who's this Queen of Heaven? She goes by many different names. She goes by Astarte, she goes by Easter, right? All these different names she goes by. So her original name was Esther, Astarte, right? When they did the council, they changed it to Easter and give you it. Right? So hold that now. Let's get the Queen of Heaven in the Bible dictionary. So now we're going to get what we just read in Jeremiah about the Queen of Heaven. Right? Which is the same name as Esther or Easter. Where you get the Easter celebration from. That's not in the Bible. Read.
Queen of Heaven. Female deity to whom priestly Hebrew women made offerings. Jeremiah 7 and 18.
Jeremiah 7 and 18. That's the same scripture we just read. So you see, they put the truth in the Bible dictionary. Right? They put the truth in the Bible dictionary. Right? While they have you following pagan days. Continuing in Easter. Right? This pagan celebration. Right? Which is not biblical. Now, let's get back to 2 Babylons. Where we leave off. Right, so let's read from there, the buns. So now we're going to finish off the hot cross buns. Let's flip back here. The hot cross buns of Good Friday. Let's read from it.
The hot cross buns of Good Friday and the dyed eggs of Pasch or Easter Sunday.
Your hot cross buns and dyed eggs started in ancient Babylon. You can't show me one biblical scripture that tells you, right, to celebrate Sunday called Easter with hot cross buns, right, and dyed eggs. Read.
Figured in the Chaldean rites, just as they do now. The buns known to by that identical name were used in the worship of the Queen of Heaven.
See, that is used in the worship of the Queen of Heaven. This is why I said earlier in the beginning, when we started, that all their holidays links to idolatry. Is the worship of some ancient idol that they were worshiping. All of their holidays. Let's read.
The goddess Easter, as early as the days of Cyprops, the founder of Athens, that is 1500 years before the Christian era.
So 1500 years before Christ came on the scene, they were already celebrating this day called Easter. It was the worship of Astarte or Ashtoreth. Right? Read.
One species of sacred grain, says Brian, which used to be offered to the gods, was of great antiquity and called boon.
One was of great antiquity and called boon.